Okay, well, we're back from Japan and still managing to not get up before 8 a.m. The jet lag's killing us. But we thought it'd be good to, while it's fresh, tell some of the downloads. Not that we've like figured out Japan. We're not one of those people. It's like,
But I do have a list of hot tips now.
there is nothing worse though than someone who goes anywhere and then all they're like, well, when I was in Japan, or like, let me tell you about Japan. As if we.
Listen, we can tell them about our experience, and we had a wonderful experience, and
Yeah.
we would have a few pro tips. Like, let's start out with perhaps what was something that you didn't expect to be true that was glaringly true once you were there.
Didn't expect to be true.
Yeah, like you didn't think it was going to be like that, but it ended up being like that.
I don't know.
Really?
I could tell you a lot of things here. We got to turn this towards you. A lot of things I liked about it. I don't know.
That were surprises?
Yeah, or good. Things I'd heard, but I'm like, there it is. But it's so cool. Like I
Okay.
heard it was kind of conservative, but actually, I didn't see that as a downside. Not that it is, but I saw it as actually there was almost like it's sort of like put energy where it's important, and it wasn't like wasted on things. And the conservativeness.
Yeah, maybe define conservative.
Like in dress or in just sort of the energy itself just felt like it had a lot of depth to it.
Well,
And
because it was conservative, it went deep versus
Yeah.
shallow and broad.
right.
It's like focused and deep. I would 100% agree with that. And it's also trying not to be like it comparing to America, where it's like candy and loud and fast and glitzy. This was subdued and tasteful and thoughtful.
Yeah, and speaking of candy, also people they were not as large as most people in America, aside from the sumos, which we didn't meet.
We did not
Just
meet.
a couple billboards. No, people seem to be healthy by and large, and I remember it took us a while. And we were there like a week, and we are looking around. We're thinking like, I don't feel like I've seen a lot of
Large.
large people, and they're like,
Mm-mm.
no,
Nope.
maybe one or two, but not a lot.
Could be a lot of
Could be a
just
lot of reasons.
genetics,
Sure, but
diet, environment, stress, history.
speaking of food adjacent, the food was incredible. So that was a surprise. I thought the food might be good,
And
but
I think I had in my mind a lot of sushi, right? Like stereotype, like, oh, we'll eat a lot of sushi.
right,
We had sushi once, I think
Right.
officially, but everything else was just a very broad palette, and we loved everything that we had.
for those watching on video, Pepper the dog is completely upstaging us right now.
What is she doing?
I think she's licking her
Chewing on her
butt
butt?
or something, and that's all people can watch right now. No one
She'll
cares.
get it. Don't worry, guys. Whatever she's looking for in there.
There we go.
Mm.
Take a rest. We groomed her yesterday because she's rejected from every groomer because she bites them.
She's
And-
protective
Yeah.
of her body
And
and space.
so we're like, we have to do this because she has these burrs that were in her. She's a little dog, for those who can't see.
A
So
long-haired mini Dachshund is what she
long-haired.
is.
So she's close to the ground,
And
with
she has long hair.
and it picks up these burrs and stuff, and they get knotted and dreaded in there, and it's horrible. And she won't let you work on it to get them out. So they just get worse, and it was a difficult situation, but it had to be done.
We solved it. As soon as we got back from Japan, we were like, let's just finally take care of Pepper.
Yeah, that
And
had to
we
be done.
did. She looks great. You look so good, Pepper. Hey. Yeah.
So, for yourself, what were some of your most surprising things about Japan? Or
Everywhere, every restroom we used, whether it was public, a
Oh,
private
yeah.
establishment, a hotel, was a Toto washlet with like full front back sprayer, heated seat, and dryer. And sometimes they added in
Noisemaker.
or noisemaker, sponsored by Roland, or like an auto up down lid. Literally everywhere.
You're
Starting
not joking
from
about sponsored by Roland.
no
Noisemaker. Literally, one of the toilets
the, and
had
the
a noise
noisemaker
machine.
is the sound of like water running. You push a button and the sound of water running is audio through your little stall.
Did it sound like someone else peeing, or was it
No, it was
like,
like a river,
is that to
like
help
a water
you or
trickling.
to
I think it's
cover
to
your
cover this,
tracks?
to cover your tracks. It's to cover your
Amazing.
tracks. But every toilet was that way, except for one toilet I went in a shrine. That's it.
I'll tell you.
That's a lot of toilets over
Well,
like
check
10
this
days,
out. Check this
12
out.
days.
The fanciest toilet of the entire trip that 11, 12 days we were there was at a highway rest stop.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that was
you'd think
so
that'd be the
good.
worst, and it was by
It was the
far.
best.
They had, okay, first off, you walk into the bathroom, they had a map. They had a map laying out like, this is the situation here. I'm like, all right, I got a lay of the land before I even had to look. And then when they had like these rooms that were like the stalls, and they had a computer screens and like nice lighting
I
and
can't
like
wait to
wood
ask you this.
paneling.
Did yours have this? Because mine, a couple, like probably like five over the time we were there, had this. It was like a fold down platform that you stand on. Did you ever
No,
have stalls with those?
I
It's
didn't
like
have a fold down platform. I did have
what's the platform for? I couldn't figure it out.
babies.
No, it had like human adult feet standing on the platform. It
I
was
don't
like a
know.
platform that came
It
down.
was probably like warmed and massaged your feet or something.
There were, and I would think that you'd have these too, like in the corner, like holstered baby seats.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the things that a toddler, you put them in the swing with their
Yeah,
feet.
they're mounted on the
So
wall.
it's like they can't do anything bad while you're doing
Yeah,
your
in the
business.
toilet.
Yeah.
The platform, though, you didn't have a platform that came down.
There was more than one screen in the bathroom too. That's what blew my mind. It was unbelievable. It was so, and there was someone in there just consistently. All they're doing is cleaning, 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 cleaning.
This is in the rest stop
at the
one.
truck stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went to a temple where most places you take off your shoes. Definitely the temples before you go in, and
Or upstairs or on wood.
or it's even in a traditional hotel.
Yeah.
And so when you go to the bathroom, when you walk up to the urinal, which by the way shoots water into itself before you walk up, it can sense you're coming to, so there's no, try to make it clean just as you arrive. And they had wooden slippers,
For you,
to stand on so you wouldn't have to sully your feet
your socks.
next to the urinal.
Yeah.
So I slipped on these really nice wooden slippers,
Mm-hmm.
and so you could do your thing.
I would have those too on the ladies' side, or we'd have like kind of like foamy croc ones that you could slip on.
Oh, ours were wood. Yeah,
Well, it
high
depends
end.
on where we were.
Bathrooms are awesome.
That's one thing where it's like you heard about it, but wow.
I mean, let me tell you,
Yes.
if I never had to raise a toilet seat again by hand or foot or whatever device of my body, I just had press a button or it just senses, I would be overjoyed. That would change my life.
We could make that happen for you at our house.
And thanks for listening to this podcast. That's it. That's what you're paying. All right. So we were there because I was invited to play at a festival called Each Story with Peter Broderick, and then we played a small show in Tokyo, and then we played an even smaller show at a little bakery called Nowhere or Paradise Bakery in Kamakura. More on that later. But that's why we were there, and we took a little time in between, and aside from Tokyo and Kamakura, checked out Kyoto for a bit, and Ambient Kyoto Festival was going on. So maybe we'll just drop a few details about some of these things. Each Story, by the way, typically when we go to festivals, often not always the best experience, or there's this and that's, or some things are great and some things are difficult.
They're usually large, loud,
It's rare we
very
even like a lot of the
involved.
music.
Lots of not good music, lots of people, bad food, etc., etc. Um, the one we went to in Napa, this Bottle Rock was awesome.
I mean, no, they're all have. I'm not trying to paint a wide brush. I'm just
They're
saying,
tough.
like, it's sometimes, yeah, it's hard. It's like your things make it extra work. You're like, oh, how do we get to this, and yada yada.
We landed in Tokyo and had to immediately drive 4 hours into the countryside
That was hard. That was very, very, very
to
hard.
get to this site.
Yeah, and we were completely delirious. But the festival itself was amazing. I think it was right up at least my alley because it was not too big. It was. I loved all of the music. that they had there. It was basically ambient experimental music, so it wasn't
The
that
color
loud.
palette of everything and everyone in every booth and the whole aesthetic was like neutrals, creams, browns,
Blacks.
blacks, grays,
Against the
wood,
backdrop of the green
a forest
forest around
with a
us.
lake and like or a pond in the middle. So the aesthetic was exceptional.
And these were like cool Japanese kids, like, hip dressed, cool styles, like experimental music. It was like there was not
Modern,
much.
subdued,
No,
grounded,
no, no one was.
zen,
Yeah, no
but
barefoot.
open. Well, everybody was barefoot.
You know what I mean? Barefoot figuratively. You know what I'm saying?
American barefoot
Yeah. How do I put this?
in the feet.
Yeah. It was. It was really nice. And on top of that, they had high production value. Of course, everything was on time and scheduled. They had a nice
Very on
piano on
time.
stage, uh, great stagehands, et cetera, et cetera. They had a guy making ramen. Everybody wanted this ramen because it was like,
This is the ramen guy.
we heard from the Japanese people, like,
This is
very
the guy.
traditional, amazing.
This is
Yeah.
the best ramen in
Craftsman.
Tokyo. We have one ramen stand. That was the thing. It was like one person that sells coffee, one person that does ice cream, one person that does ramen, one person that does
They had their
the
own beer.
one person that does beer, the one person that does the one thing. They're a master at the one thing. Like, let's not bother with lots of choice. Let's give you the master of the one thing. So I
Yeah.
stood in line for that ramen in the rain
In the rain,
for
at least an hour.
at least an hour. At
And
least,
let's just put it this way:
a lot longer.
Ramen Guy was an artist. He took his
Yes.
time.
Yes, he made 4 bowls at a time, and so it was just the next 4 people got the one bowl of the one thing that he made,
Yeah,
and wow,
yeah. He
That's-
was
that's a
something
taste
else.
of Japan.
We've kind of found that a lot where
That
you
was what
know,
made all the food so good. Everywhere we would go is a pretty small establishment.
yeah,
They have a very small menu. They're masters of the couple things that they do.
it's true. It's true.
They don't mess around with trying to do everything.
And again, we had some of the best fill in the blank we
Of
ever
our life.
had, and it was including sushi.
Mhm.
I don't even like sushi, but
I know I had you eat, what was it, a whole
and it
piece
was
of
good.
taro? Yeah.
And but like at that sushi restaurant, it was the best rice I'd ever had in my life,
Ever.
ever, hands down. It was just this like
Tiny spot.
I discovered too that like on Google Maps, their ratings of restaurants, like here in the States, I don't know, maybe we're a little bit on a curve. It's a little inflated, like a 5. You give a 5 if everything's fine, and you give a 4 if there's a problem. A 3 means like probably pretty bad. There, I was noticing there weren't a lot even 4.5s. There were some, and there were some that went up, but there were a lot of stuff around 4.0, 3, a lot of 3.8, 3.9, which would be a disaster, I think.
In
here.
the U.S.
Yeah. And we went to some of these because we had to, and they were still great. And then we went to some that were like a 4.1. We're like, that was the best tonkatsu I've ever had. And we quickly realized like they're not messing around with, they're being accurate. You're like 4.5 is amazing. It's like
Yeah.
that's an amazing score.
Yes.
And once we cracked that code,
Yes.
we started checking out certain places and having some incredible
Incredible
meals.
The best evers over and over again.
But little places like
Yeah. They just do that thing.
or even the thing they don't do. We went to the coffee place, Alpha Betty, Kamakura, shout out. That's what it's called.
Alpha Betty's.
And they did have amazing coffee, and we noticed that the woman doing the coffee was like sitting there examining every bean and pulling out the ones that were like
Bean by bean.
this isn't up to snuff, and roasting them.
Mm-hmm.
They made a burger there. They had burgers on this menu. It was the best burger I've ever had. Period. I'm just like, what's going on? I'm like in a little town. It's not even a burger place. And I watched her make it. It was just like taking her, just beautiful attention, just
Attention.
and love into each little piece. And thankfully, like it wasn't a lot of places we went. They weren't like rushed. Even if they weren't super busy. They kind of like, we're gonna do our thing, and you have to wait.
Yep. Yep. And then their system of like people would line up outside of a restaurant. So you'd be in a queue outside the front door. And then when they put you in a new position we have for restaurants, which is called on deck, that's what we named it.
You come
They
in.
bring you inside. You think like, oh, I'm about to get my table. But they actually have you stand there for another 15 to 20 minutes.
Or sit. Yeah.
or
You
sit.
sit there and watch everyone eat.
You sit on your feet.
And they look
And
at
then
you
finally,
waiting.
you get their table when they got up, and then the next person from outside comes in and sits and waits.
Yeah. No, it's great. Um, I think I've heard things about Japan before I went that people said things like, "Oh, it's like India, but in that it's so foreign, but of course more organized and so forth." And so maybe I was a little bit like, "Oh man, I'm getting myself prepared for like it being very disorienting on the foreign factor."
Mm.
I didn't find that.
Mm-mm.
I didn't find that. Did find the organization factor, which I love.
What was
Like,
the most organized for you?
well, like the trains came exactly when they said they would, to the minute, and
People queued,
yeah, they we were
lined up.
we were waiting for a bullet train, and there was like you thought we
There's colored lines on the grounds of like where you think the doors are going to be
blue,
when the
orange, so
train
forth.
stops. And we had just watched a trainload of people queue up and get on the train before us. And I was like, okay, we're next. Let's go stand in line. We'll do the right thing and get ready. And we had to wait maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. So you and I were just like busy, but we were standing at the very front of the queue. And then right before the train comes, I pick up my head and look around.
No one's
And
behind us. They've made
they
other
queued
queues, other
everywhere
lines
else. I'm like,
exist.
oh,
And I actually said to you, I was like, we're in the wrong line. And you said, maybe not. And I said, I'd bet $100 we're in the wrong line. I do not think what's going on here is that the Japanese people are being polite. Like, oh, we don't want to, crowd them. Like, they're just like, look at those dummies standing for the wrong train. We'll let them do their thing. And
and they did. No one told
we
us.
shall make a line and wait for the train. You actually said, well, maybe not. Maybe they're wrong. Oh, yes, that's it.
The hundreds of
That's
people around
it.
us.
Yes, we figured it out. And they've always got it wrong.
But you went to the end of one of the long lines next to us.
Yeah, I did. I
and
was like, I'm going to play by the rules here.
I didn't.
Yeah, you just got on and they let you. Like, look at this American
I
lady.
got a pass because I was clearly trying to do the right thing.
Well, that's how the world works.
I
If you
tried.
try.
Well, I wasn't just like somebody scattered off to the side that at the end went to the front of the line. I had been waiting in what I mistakenly thought
See,
was
I don't think
the front of
they
the
give a
line.
shit. Yeah, they're
No,
like,
so
you
I get a
didn't get.
pass.
You
Because
gave
I was
yourself a pass. Is
trying.
what happened there. No one handed you a pass.
They didn't stop me.
They're polite.
I was getting a pass.
Well, we like the trains. Took a few trains and some subways and so forth, and that was fun. I did see a statistic recently. I don't know if this is true. That the Tokyo subway system is profitable, whereas the New York subway system is not. And I think that has more to do probably with administration than, like the New York subway system gets you around, but there's something about like the metro in New York where it's obviously a public thing, but their books are closed. Now tell me, how in the hell does that make sense? And we're talking billions of dollars to run this thing.
And they don't make money.
And somehow they're not making money, right? Millions of people riding it every day. I would see things in New York like they'll put up those signs saying like this elevator is under construction and it will say expected return date. It would be like 11 years in the future. Because it's like what kind of there's no competition here. It's like what kind of organization can get away with this? 11 years. I'm like, yeah, that's when we've scheduled it for. Well, thanks for putting up the sign. I appreciate that. Not in Tokyo. No, we didn't see anything quite like that. Although we couldn't read the signs.
No, we had our Google Translate. That helped.
Yeah, we were sitting at this restaurant and they had all these signs handwritten all over, and we're like, oh.
It was a locals restaurant.
I wonder what that says. And you pull out your Google Translate, the one that was right in front of your face, and what did it say? In Kyoto. How about...
Oh, yeah. It said, how about some ice cream? How about that ice cream?
That was a translation. How about that ice cream?
I thought you were thinking of the one that says penises, and I wasn't going to say that.
No, that was on the menu. It was a section of food that said penises. And I said, I think there's something going wrong with the translator. But
every time you went over it with your phone, it was penises, exclamation point.
Yeah. No, we went, that was another place. Obviously, this is a lot about food, but we went to a place where I just found on Google Maps it looked good, and we went up there, and they're like, look,
We
there's
don't have
no
an
English menus.
menu.
I'm just going to lay it out. Like, This is not a normal
But we were like, we have
spot.
Google Translate. We got it.
And they were like, okay. And we pulled out Google Translate and we saw penises. Uh, we ordered some.
And there was a restaurant. Yeah, right. Several. We got several different kinds.
Hot and cold.
It was a restaurant that you can smoke in.
Yeah, we did.
Everybody, all the tables around us were smoking.
I didn't like that.
It's unusual nowadays. We don't get that in the
Yeah, it
US.
was shocking for a second. It's like, is this? I didn't know if it was illegal or the people just did it or.
I think they wouldn't do it if it were illegal.
Also, I heard someone tell me, again, not sure if this is true, a Japanese person said that mushrooms were legal and then became illegal.
Oh, when was the become?
I didn't get hard dates, but it seemed like it wasn't too long ago kind of thing.
Wow.
Don't know
Curious.
if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know either. Somebody will tell us.
But I did get the sense that like psychedelics in general, although it might be done, it's definitely not as like out there as it is in America. It definitely seemed more like, well, yeah, that's kind of that's pretty hush hush.
Less tie-dye all around.
No tie-dye.
None.
No tie-dye.
Shrines and temples.
Yes, shrines and temples.
Everywhere. So many. More than we could see.
I mean, I found some that were in between buildings and of course giant, amazing ones. Every kind of temple you could imagine.
Which one did you enjoy the most?
Well, I did like that one of the last ones we went to in Kamakura, I think, because it was the first one ever built there and it was really old. And like you said, they let us. They invited people to come into the actual like main building part in the middle, which normally you're kind of like looking into. You can walk up to the steps and look in it. They're like, come in.
This temple was built in 730 AD in Kamakura, the first Buddhist temple in that area. And it was up a hill. That was so gorgeous too, walking up all those steps. And then when you come in, there was just like a woman, I want to say a nun, because she seemed like she was working there and that was her spot. And she just invited us all the way up the steps into the full thing.
Take your shoes off, come in.
Come like up onto the platform with all the deities, with all the...
Yeah, and I like that because there was really no one there too. And so it was just quiet. Whereas the 1,000 Kuan Yins were amazing, but you know, it's a lot of people coming to check that out. And
1,001
it didn't feel as
cannons.
alive in a sense. It felt now it's become something you come to look at as opposed to something that's
in use.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still amazing. Felt more like I'm looking at history.
A part of history, in the history. Yeah, less museum-esque. Though I want to say, I think that probably all of the temples that we visited are in use, just not the times that we're there.
I hope so.
I think they are.
I hope so. Yeah, there's so many. That's what kind of blew my mind too. Is just, I mean, I suppose if as an analog you'd look at churches in the U.S., but there are more temples.
Definitely.
And Shinto, the original religion in Japan, I was told, sort of almost animistic in a sense that like
there's no doctrine, there's no gods.
Everything is animated with spirit in a sense, and there's no holy book.
No holy book, no like one god, this or that. Just like
pretty cool.
Yes, it's like the sacredness of
so
life.
Buddhism came from China, and this is before that.
Shinto is before that. Shinto is what was there.
Incredible.
Before Buddhism.
Incredible.
So as many Shinto shrines as there were Buddhist temples. In Kyoto, for example, a city of how many?
Technically 13 some million. 13.7. I'm sure it balloons more than that.
Well, there's nearly 2,000 shrines and temples.
Kyoto.
In Kyoto.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is smaller. Yeah.
Didn't I say?
Oh, sorry.
In Kyoto?
Kyoto is 1 point something million.
1 point something.
Bigger than we thought it would be.
Yes.
Like it had like a downtown and, you know.
It's a large bustling city.
Yeah.
But wow. And then in addition to the temple and shrine, there's just these gardens. Everyone has these landscaped gardens that were like, for me, it was like nature.
You wanted your garden.
Nature orgasm.
Yeah, you wanted
nature orgasm. So gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, they have a staff making that happen, but yeah.
Of course they have a staff.
If we had a staff, our yard would be killing it.
You're trying to say I've wanted my garden. I care about gardens.
Yeah. I've sensed your pain. I've heard about how much you're like, man. I mean, you literally bought a Japanese maple tree and planted it, and it didn't make it.
I
And
know.
boy,
I'm
did I hear
so
about that.
bummed.
I was out there talking to it, like, please, for her, please. It really needs this.
Didn't pull
It still
through.
died. Yeah,
But I love gardens. And so their gardens, everyone was
epic. Beautiful. Yeah. We were lucky too because the weather was exceptional. Just kind of warm fall weather.
hmm
Some rain, but just beautiful
not too
weather.
hot, not cold.
Yeah. So after the festival, the show in Tokyo, with also with Peter Broderick was just awesome at Harame. Small venue, great opener. Do you remember their name?
No,
I could look it up while you're talking.
I wouldn't be able to tell you their name, but Shun, he became our de facto guide and brought us from the Each Story Festival to his venue in Tokyo, Harame, and was just a wonderful host and took us to a temple that day as we arrived in Tokyo from where we were outside of the city. And then later on, brought us to his absinthe bar, the Green Continent, Green Contentment,
No,
Contentment Green, Containment Green.
I'll have to look that up too. But I mean, I was trying to give you the name of the. I want to talk about this band.
Yeah, so the band before,
This is terrible. If I type in East Forest Tokyo Harame, it says inside Japan's suicide forest.
yeah,
What do you mean? Yeah, you knew about this?
yeah.
What are you talking about?
There's a forest in Japan where people go to end their own life.
This is horrible. All right,
It's a part of their culture.
all right. This is no good. Do you remember? Do you remember Periscope? You probably don't. It was an app.
What was it for?
You would open it and you could drop people would. It was kind of like live videoing, but you would just pop in, and so I'd be like transmitting, just saying things, and I'd be anywhere in the
To
world
who?
to anyone on Periscope, and you'd pop around the
Like
map.
TikTok.
Yeah, but it was live. That's the only difference.
Huh. You
Anyway,
did that?
well, one time I was on Periscope just dropping the needle, looking around the world, and I dropped into Japan. And as soon as the guy's video came up, he's in a forest and he said, I'm in the East Forest. And I was like, what? What's happening? Like, maybe he saw that I joined or something and I didn't understand. But now that you're telling me perhaps he was in an East Forest.
You're making these connections in this moment?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just struck by you told me there's a place where people have suicide. It's horrible.
It is. It is.
I don't know. Does that ring a bell? Orinji Trio?
Oh yeah.
Origi?
Onigiri.
They were really good.
Onigiri trio.
Yeah, this trio that played first.
Yeah, Yumiko, Baku, and Anamamai.
Yeah, it reminded me of Balmorhea a little bit. They were sweet and great. They played, and then we played a set which was super fun. And then we went to the Absinthe Bar, Condition Green.
Condition green. In the Harame though, it's this tiny little underground, feels like super indie Japanese bar. Amazing club.
Yeah,
Murals on the wall. They have a tea menu, like an extensive herbal tea menu, a beer menu. They made burritos, and then they had this like VIP elevated wicker floor seated
take off your shoes.
platform. Take off
Bamboo
your shoes
floor.
that we
Yeah.
got to sit on. I love that
It was
experience.
nice. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, and the entire sound staff was female, which is unusual. I love that, at least in the States. They were great. And he owns this little absinthe bar that they crowdfunded. And so we went there, and it's Condition Green, so much fun. His partner, what's her name?
I won't be able to tell you.
She's the wizard of the whole place.
The bartender.
Yeah, and makes these concoctions, made incredible drinks. And so we didn't know. We were just like, I don't know, make whatever you
She
make.
would look at you and she would make it based on just her sense of you.
She's like an absinthe shaman,
Yes.
basically. She just kind of suss out you. Okay, here's
This is your
what you
type
need.
of absinthe. This is the drink I will make with absinthe specifically for you, one at a time for everybody.
In this moment, because the
Mhm.
next one would be different.
Yeah.
and we had a great time.
Andre, Peter's manager, Peter, myself, you, and Shun,
A handful of
locals.
locals to the right. Yeah. And they played great jazz,
Mm.
and they had studio monitor speakers. I mean, that was another thing I found good. They had a lot of quality jazz in a lot of shops and restaurants that we went to, which I loved. Like good music.
It wasn't just blaring,
It wasn't no commercials, no
glappy
commercials, and it wasn't
pop
just some
music,
crappy like.
blocky, like,
No,
you
it
know,
was like some Coltrane was playing, or some Alice Coltrane in that one, or Pharoah Sanders, I believe, went on. It's good, really good. There were a couple times we were in shops and they were playing like a song so good, some rare cut of like Bill Evans. I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish this tune. And they had these vintage JBL speakers, and it was good.
high class.
Yeah, Condition Green was good. You had a nasty hangover, but and Peter was upset because they kept giving him Marilyn Manson
It was
absinthe.
called Mansynth.
Yeah, he was not happy about that.
Manson.
So as a shaman would do, she just gave him another.
When we had our second round of drinks, everybody got a new drink made for them, and Peter did too, but she still used Manson,
With a smile.
which was hysterical because Peter was very offended.
Yeah, he couldn't take. It was like he was putting this evil energy of Marilyn Manson, and he just couldn't separate the two. Like, why me? Why am I the only one? And we were laughing, of course, but I think that made it worse. To be honest, I didn't want it, but we didn't get it.
If she would have served me Manson, though, from the start, I don't think I would have thought too much about it.
I wouldn't have said anything, but I would have been
Mm.
like that. I don't feel so good about this.
Okay, so Peter just vocalized it.
Yeah, he was taking it for the team.
Again?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was truly a night to never forget. Just because, I mean, you never would have stumbled on a place like that, and had such a fun night. And it was after a show, of course, which you're feeling like a celebration. You made it all the way to Tokyo, and
And then we finally
new
leave.
friends, old
We
friends.
learned that the Japanese love to walk you to the door waving. They'll see you
Yeah.
out with waves.
I mean, it was one thing in shops, like they carry the bag out and then wave you goodbye. I was like, oh, okay. But then at a bar at 2 in the morning, getting the double-handed wave,
Some heart
it
hands.
was amazing. It's like they care about me.
All the way to the end.
It's just so courteous. We found it to be, in our experience, very courteous. And then, oh, we had that amazing. We really lucked out with this hotel room, and we walk in this hotel. The room had this little lobby, which I didn't understand. They opened the door, and there's this little tiny hallway, nicely lit, where you take off your shoes and so forth and so on. And I'm like,
Put on
where's
your slippers.
where's the room? I'm like, well, there's another door down there.
your foyer into another room? Our only king size bed that we had. Every other bed was doubles next to each other with a nightstand in the middle.
But it had a karaoke machine in the room, and the room were soundproofed.
Yep.
And
And a
so,
sauna.
And a sauna in the room, like their own little onsen that there's
And a
already
hot
on.
tub. Or
Well,
like a hot bath.
A bath, yeah.
Pool.
It was amazing. And so we hit the I sang you some songs.
You did.
Yeah.
You
it was
did.
cheese balls.
Yeah. Some really sweet love songs.
I like that place. And they had all these fancy remotes to change all the lights to these different colors. And then you realize it might be a place for
Hookers.
casual sex.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't say hookers.
Yeah.
Hookups.
Hookups.
Place for hookups.
Consensual
Well,
short-term relationships.
You could
That's how you
rent
say it
it
now.
by the afternoon. Or you could have a very late check-in, like 10
Shocked me
p.m.
because
check-in.
this place was pretty high end, and I was like, who spends the cash on the karaoke machine with their consensual short-term relationship?
Maybe they just
you
want to
only have an
fun
hour.
for the afternoon. Maybe there's no sex involved.
Oh
They're
yeah,
just having fun.
that makes a lot of sense. Don't need the sauna or the bathtub and the soundproof walls. It's for the karaoke.
It could be.
Everybody knows that karaoke with a hired consensual sex worker Far better than your
I'm
friends
just
on a
saying,
night out.
maybe the friends are all getting together. It's a ladies' date.
Well, you're right. You need to be with someone who doesn't judge you if you really want to sing. And some people, you need to have the right, chutzpah to sing certain songs. And your friends don't cut it.
So
It makes total sense now.
there's parts of this culture we don't even understand. It's so
We
hard.
understand nothing. Let's put that out there as a disclaimer. We are stupid tourists who think we had our experience like anyone else would be the same.
Talk about Team Lab.
Oh, yeah, you found Team Lab. It's like the Meow Wolf of Tokyo,
But
but way better.
not. Meow Wolf is like if you went to a garage sale on psychedelics.
Imagine a Meow Wolf, but everyone takes off their shoes and socks. Yes, it smells. Let's just put it
Just
that way.
in the shoe locker room.
1,000 lockers for shoes at once.
And you go in with a group of people. Maybe there was like 50 in our pod.
Pod though, but there were
Yeah,
hundreds and
every
hundreds in
30
this.
minutes or 15 minutes, a new pod's going in. But as soon as you take off your shoes and then enter, you're in a dark, long, haunted house hallway, black, with a inclined plane, water running down. So water's washing your feet as you walk. And at the end of this long hallway, there's a waterfall, like fountainy thing. And then you go into a room to your left where you just simply towel off your feet. And you towel off your feet, walk into another room that's like black. Everything's black. Black walls, black floor, ceiling, dark lighting, pillowy sheets, bouncy room that we bounced across. Kind of like a trampoline McDonald's playpen, but it's black, bouncy. And then another dark hallway. And then you come into like the infinite universe fractal light LED mirrored room.
They had a
Maze.
very large room, maybe 50, 60 foot tall, ceilings with hanging LED clear strips with maybe 1,000,000 lights. So thick you can't see through them, and then every surface, including the floor and ceiling and the walls, is mirrors, so it looks infinite. And it was a shocker after coming through all these dark black, like dark, small hallways with water and so forth, and you come into this, and when they clean your feet like that, you're not mucking up the floor,
That's why they pre-wash everyone's feet.
the glass, the
So
mirrored
you can
floor.
walk on the mirrored floor. And then it's a maze of these lights.
Yeah, and it really cool, like spatial ambient music, and that was it was pretty impressive, that room. And I'm sure some of the listeners out there have seen this, or we posted a pic on the Instagram, but that was wild. And then there were a couple more of these like different rooms of different styles.
Yeah, one room where you're standing with all of these, 100+ strangers in another mirrored room up to your knees in water. But the water's like a milky,
Dark room.
dark room, but the water's like milky. You can't see through it. And then opaque. And then the ceiling, they're projecting like images from the ceiling down onto the
Like
opaque
psychedelic, ghostly koi.
that you would look down at reflecting up in the water. It was crazy. That was insane too. And just the whole experience of being in that scenario with strangers was added to.
Yeah, if you were a toddler, you were almost up to your waist in water. It was bold. And that
Very
it wasn't like a
bold.
little water.
Very bold.
We were up to almost our knees in water.
Yeah. And then you get out of that and dry off again and then go into another room and another
You
room.
could drown in that room.
You could.
You could.
If you fell unconscious, you would drown. And then the final room was a room, again, mirrored ceiling, walls, floor, with thousands of orchid plants on strings going up and down
Real
together
orchids.
that you would walk into, these living plants.
They're very slowly moving up and down in strands of several dozen of them, and again a tall ceiling and mirrors, and so you're kind of in this endless orchid garden that's moving around you.
Oh, and then there was the room that you laid on the ground.
Yeah, I wasn't into that one.
And then it was like almost like
Projection.
Yeah, I'm thinking
That
of
was a
the
little
Android
more-
Jones room.
I got a
Thumb
little
car.
nauseous in that one. And then there was a pillowy, a ball one, but I just needed to get out of there because at the end, the feet smell. I couldn't, it was intense.
You're so funny.
It was really intense. but that was cool and unique. Um, but there were parts of Tokyo that were kind of like quiet and calm and I really liked. Felt like certain parts of Brooklyn, and of course parts that were sort of like you're in Midtown Manhattan that were like super busy and commercial, and then the whole. Of course, I mean, I was just my analogs were just New York, of course, and but I liked Tokyo. I did. I liked it.
In Kyoto, we talked about in Kamakura, we were there at the end of our trip, and really just a big roll of the dice playing at a bakery.
Yeah, I thought before I keep turning this microphone towards your mic, your mouth. There you go. I thought I still think I had some rule about the work visa where you had to leave 2 or 3 days after your last engagement, and so it's like, well, I want to see more of Japan if we're flying all the way there, so I need another gig to stay near the end, and they found us a gig at they just kind of said it's a small thing at a place, and then no one said anything, and then a couple days before we were gonna leave, I wrote him back, being like, "Is that still happening?" I'm assuming it's not because there's no tickets being sold. And he said, "Oh no, it is. There are no tickets. It's just sort of this underground psychedelic bakery where they use this yeast that's like 2,000 years old, and they do these 2-day bread rituals." And I'm like, and they said Terry Riley plays there a bunch, and I'm like, okay, well, that's something. And my we had trouble figuring out how to get places because like on the trains we couldn't take all my gear, so we left some gear. At first we left some at the absinthe bar because the guy said
Mm-hmm.
Shun was like, we can store it upstairs. I'm like, okay. And then we left one big suitcase in Tokyo at a hotel, and we left to Kyoto, and then these folks in Kamakura just got the bags. They just went to Tokyo and took our bag, and we didn't give permission. I'm glad they did it. I'm
Well,
just
they
saying.
got the bags from Shun, but they had our bag from the hotel sent by mail
Oh
on our
right,
behalf.
yeah, which I didn't know you could do. Just call up a place and be like, "You got a bag? I need it, and you can send it to
And
me."
they did. So good for us. That was the headache of like, how do we get the bags around? And it all worked out. Let's just say that.
It did, and so all of the stuff was in Kamakura. At this point, we were committed because it's like we need our stuff to leave the country, so we had to go there. So we went there with our little bag, little backpack that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and we show up at this very small bakery that felt like it was a nexus point for some kind of underground surrealist avant-garde scene. And they
Like a interstellar way station.
totally, exactly. And they said through COVID, similar something happened in Japan where a lot of people left Tokyo and a lot of them went to Kamakura. Sort of like a lot of people left New York City and they went upstate or so forth, right? Like a lot of people moved out of the cities. So there was like a scene, there was a way station, as you put it. So set the stage for when we arrived.
Well, what was amazing was we got off the train in Kamakura and you and I went to go get like something to eat and drink. So we just found a great spot, had fantastic food at this little, like tiny little bar
Yeah,
right down the road. And then
yeah.
we were like, well, let's go find Paradise Bakery. It's really close, zero point 0.1 miles. We'll go walk there. We walked to Paradise Bakery from the train station and it's maybe like 5 o'clock and it's closed and we're sitting on the
It was
bench
getting dark. Yeah,
and we're like, what do we do? Oh, we have to go to this other bakery. It's actually like a cab ride away. What are we going to do? How are we going to get there? And a guy just walks up to us, a Japanese fellow, and he says in his best English, like, East Forest?
we pointed at Instagram on his phone a picture of you and I at Team Lab with all those lights, and he's like, "Forest East," and I was like, "That is me." And I'm the big dummy. I'm like, "Oh, it's a Japanese fan, some alley." He's like, "No, no, no." He's like,
He's like, do you want to go? I'll take you. He
and I
just
said,
appeared out of nowhere.
"Yeah, let's go."
This guy appeared out of nowhere to take us in his own car to the
Never saw that
proper
guy
spot.
again. Now that I think
No, he
about
was
it.
at your show.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
Oh,
he came to your show. You didn't
oh.
see him because you're performing, but he was there. But he just arrived. We're like, thank goodness, because how else would we have gotten there? So we got a private shuttle to Nowhere Bakery. Michael meets us, And then it's like the room we enter, think like grandpa's barn that's 4 feet
Yeah,
across.
barn's not the right word.
That's,
Yeah.
well, I say barn
Barns
because
are
it's,
big.
no, 4 feet across. A barn that's 4 feet
Shitty
across.
barn. Yeah.
But like the feel of like wood and dark and
Yeah,
enclosed
old
and
Japanese
cluttered,
traditional
and there's
building.
stuff everywhere, just full of stuff
Baking supplies and music stuff.
and random artifacts from who knows and art and everything and personal supplies of whatever. They take us upstairs and then we take off our shoes. Then we go up this tiny little, like 2 feet across
Not to
hallway.
code these stairs.
And then at the top of the stairs, there's a room where there's someone playing music. Was it clarinet?
Oh, it was alto clarinet, which is a very rare instrument. And what was the guy? The DJ, Mix Master
Morris.
Morris. Okay, Mix Master Morris for you out there was in there doing his set to maybe half a dozen people, and this guy's playing alto clarinet and ripping it
And
like
it's just
really well. Just slaying.
psychedelic, dark. Like, I don't want to use the word drug den,
Was
but
there a puppet out? Someone had a
not
puppet.
yet, but that
Yeah.
was to come later. People just lounging out on the floor. And next, that was to the left. And to the right was another small, tight room where, like, you can sleep here for the night.
Like this is where you can stay. Yeah, and they told us in the emails like, oh, it's like an inn. Won't be that fancy, but I'm like, oh, sure, great.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize there was a party essentially going on this night. And there were, and at the bottom of the stairs where the shoes are taken off, there were about 14, 15 pairs of shoes, including maybe ours.
And tiny shoes.
This is when we came in. And so we went in there, and eventually we were like, jet lag, we got to go to sleep. So we tried, and it's kind of tough because there's a
Well,
party
we
going
went
on.
to go get our best tonkatsu.
Yeah, we had tonkatsu around the corner. Point is, we did go to bed.
Tried to.
Eventually fell asleep. Eventually wake up in the morning. I go down the stairs to use the one bathroom. There's still 14 pairs of shoes down there. I hear snoring things all around me. I was like, I don't think I can get out.
Sleeping
Everywhere.
on every
There's
surface.
just people now passed out. I was like,
Every
what?
floor,
Where are we?
every couch. The little room that we'd entered that I described as the 4 foot across barn, somebody sleeping down that little walkway.
And someone's making bread because, you got to make bread
It's a
early in the morning.
bakery,
But
yeah.
everyone else is passed out and it's pouring down rain. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just like, all I wanted was coffee. And a private bathroom, and we had neither. So, and apparently it was a holiday,
Yes, Sports Day.
sports day.
It's a national holiday. That's when we have Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yep, happens to be the same day. So anyway, that's when we were like found this cafe literally down the street. We're thinking it's gonna be closed because it's sports day. It wasn't, and that's where I had the best burger of my life and the best coffee of my life. And I was like, this was the best precious coffee moment. That place, I'll tell you, precious.
And it was a show day.
It was a show day. So then it kind of cleared up, and the show, everyone there actually is very sweet. We finally got to know people a little bit. Junpei, the baker, his wife, a lot of kids, a lot of kids around.
That's what I meant when I said little shoes.
Yeah, a lot of children,
Mm-hmm.
young children. And so eventually I set up in there, this little tiny room, and they did sell tickets.
And the room is like what dimension?
Oh gosh, like
20.
maybe 12 by 12.
Okay.
I'm guessing 12 by 14.
And it's
maybe.
straw mat floor. You sit on the ground.
Bamboo mats, yeah.
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 And then there's kind of like a cubby altar mixing zone.
Yeah,
Sounds.
and there was a dude back there who spoke no English. And I really like this dude because I was like, this is a music dude. And we just pointed at shit and we totally understood each other. He's pointing at my boomerang looper pedals and I'd make hand gestures about what they do. He's like, oh, hi. And I'd point at his weird ass synth that he built and I was like, what is this? And he'd be like, type on it and show me. And I was like, oh, it's okay. It's actually a Mac, but it's doing this thing. He's like, hi. I was like, badass. And he had all these weird synths connected to bread.
Wait, what?
Bread. They're playing bread.
How do you play bread?
Oh, you're playing dumb. That's what they do here all the time, all
Out
day
of nowhere,
long, is
bread.
put electrodes into bread and the yeast inside it, the aliveness of it, somehow some kind of electrical impulse triggers something in a synth through a program they make, and that will then play bleeps and bloops based from the bread. And the bread will be changing. They will say, depending on if we're talking about it or if we touch it, or certainly if we're going to maybe eat it. And this bread's just jamming these little blippity bloopities in the background all
And
day
the
long,
breads
all
are
night.
murals.
They're works of art. They really are. I mean, he made one, the second one, that was in the room behind me on this altar that had piano keys.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had like the constellation of what was the present constellation that day in like our solar system. Some wild stuff.
Infinity
in the shape of a
signs.
nautilus.
Yeah.
It's like 4 feet across.
You've never seen bread like this in your life.
And he made one of those when we were at the festival, Each Story, gave it to me after the show. We traveled with it back to Tokyo, took it to the show,
and Harame.
and then had to cut it up and give it everywhere. We have this heavy, large piece of bread.
Delicious sourdough.
Yeah, they gave us bread to bring home to the States. And
They
we
gave
just
us a starter.
finished it yesterday.
Oh, the bread that we took home. Yeah. And a starter.
Yeah.
So that's a future for us. So the bread's playing.
But it was just a wild experience. I had this altar of bread, and he also, Junpei, makes these heart sutras.
He writes the heart sutra.
Yeah, in Japanese characters in a circle 3 or 4 times a day as a meditation. These beautiful, like 2 foot across circular mandalas. So he was doing that while I'm playing. And then someone started pulling out these puppets.
Mm-hmm.
These strange, fluffy, psychedelic puppets while I was playing Grandmother Sphere.
That was at the end for the encore, but one of the things I want to note
A first.
the puppet show, yeah. One of the things I want to note is like beforehand, you and I were kind of talking, or maybe I was encouraging you, like, hey, you could do more of like a drop in for this show, kind of like a ceremony, and like say whatever you want and like go wherever you want to go with it. Like this is like a ripe crowd.
Yeah.
And everybody came in. It was a room full of maybe like 20-ish. And then that was
22.
maxed out.
Yeah, it was full.
Seated, cross-legged, just in it with you. I'm there. There's a couple people standing in the open doorway. And you say something to begin, and then you begin playing, and everybody just closes their eyes and starts to meditate. They're the most dropped in, tapped in,
amazing
present crowd that I've
the festival too.
At the festival too, they just sit and they actually listen.
Just listen.
No one has their phone out. No one's getting up. No one's fidgeting. Nobody's doing this or that or chatting or watching.
I thought it would be a hang.
They'd be hanging out.
Yeah, it'd be like there'd be people smoking. It'd be a hang. The next night it'd be.
No.
And this was like a very formal event.
So attentive, so clear, so dialed. They were just, it's like a level of like, we got this that I've never experienced ever.
So I did improvise the whole set. I was like, let's go. And at the last song, the encore is a little bit of Grandma's Sphere. I'm going to share that on my Patreon, the live recording of that.
Wow.
On the council.
It was so
I did record
good. It was so good. And I've been to 95% of these for you over the past whatever number of years. That was the clearest, deepest space. Non-psychedelic too. It wasn't like everybody was on mushrooms or whatever. Maybe some people are on.
Maybe they were. Who
smoking
knows?
weed or
they were
who
on
knows.
bread.
but it was, let's just say it wasn't like.
It was my first gluten ceremony with an altar to gluten, straight up.
Oh shit! Yeah. That's a gluten.
So anti-America. It was just like, no, man. Gluten is the ancient ergot wisdom god of sandwiches.
The fields that I felt from everyone there was incredible.
It was so giving.
Yeah.
And patient and just calm.
With
neither here nor there. It's just like, I'm
presence.
Here. The love came from not overtly being gushy. It was more just like, I'm here.
Yeah. Dude. What? It was so fucking good. Really?
Arigato.
Really?
That's what I said at the end. Arigato. I have to say it like that.
Arigato, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Tone helps. And everyone's happy when you do that. When I'm happy, they're happy, they're happy, I'm happy. We're all at the door waving. And I'm like, you're my best friend. I'm coming back.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. And so I was on a bit of a high after that, and we hung around and had some amazing homemade soba noodles down there with the kids, and that was great. And saw a few more temples, a little more walking. The weather got better the next day, so we got to walk around. Then we had to head to the airport,
Hmm.
and I was sad to have to leave. Uh, it's of course tiring to bounce around. It's such a privilege to go at all, but it's a place that for definitely over 15 years I had longed to play in Japan, and I had seen some of musicians that I had admired over the years that I was wanting to make music like them. I remember the album Leaf, for instance, way back when. I used to be a fan. I'm a fan. I was a fan before I was making East Forest, and I noticed he would play in Japan from time to time. I used to think like, oh, they will like my kind of music. If I could just ever find a way to play in Japan, I have no idea how. There's no way to just. It's not like some places where you can just go. Kind of need someone Japanese to invite you or internal promoter.
And they said that when we were there playing at the bread shop, like it's sort of like an audition. Like if somebody knows you and then they can vouch for you, then all the doors open. But they're not open until people know you. You can't do it
I
on
mean,
your
it's its
own.
own music scene too. On one level, like I don't have a lot of fans there, and it's different. Like they listen to
Oh,
CDs.
but we had your one super fan come,
I had a couple fans. Yeah, yeah.
Kieru,
Keru. Yeah,
who showed us around Kyoto.
yeah. No, I have some, but I don't think I could fill a lot of venues, on my own. I need some help to
Yes,
to
you're
try
not
and
as
build
known.
something.
Oh, and then ambient Kyoto.
Which is a sign that festival, for instance, that exists. Again, speaks to the appreciation, the value for experimental, thoughtful, slower music.
Yeah, Brian Eno's Ambient Kyoto was a thing when we were there. We got to
Yeah,
go to a few installations where it would be ambient music with, installations, art rooms, sensory
yeah.
experiences.
It pieces about Cornelius. Sakamoto had a big piece. May he rest in peace. That just cool.
Oh, and our friend Cacao Magic.
Yeah, yeah. DJ Sumi. If you're
Yes.
in Kyoto, go to Cacao Magic Chocolate Shop. Uh, she's amazing and sweet, and one of the people involved with Ambient Kyoto. But we had some great chocolate. Um, Kyoto is mostly us having a couple days off to explore.
Onsens. We haven't even talked about onsens. Onsens are their hot springs.
Or spas, yeah, and we couldn't go to a lot of the public ones because you're like a dirty yakuza.
I am. I have tattoos.
Yeah, what I mean to say is, if you have tattoos, some of these places and all the ones we encountered, you can't come in.
You can't come
I don't
in.
have any.
Oh, well, look at you.
I took one for the team there.
No, you didn't.
I'm pure.
You can't show your tattoos, but you also can't hide your tattoos because you have to wear clothes.
Well, you're
You have to
naked.
not be clothed in the
Yeah,
onsen.
right.
So I was just asking.
Hey, yeah, I thought you could wear like a
I know I
bathing
planned on it.
shirt.
I brought a long sleeved like swim shirt, but yeah,
But then for all they know, you're just hiding all these tattoos.
exactly. They get you. So we had private onsen experiences in a private room, just you and I.
Yeah, try to get. Well, like that's why that hotel was awesome, but didn't get the public traditional onsen experience.
No,
But that's okay.
I guess I can never do it because I have tattoos.
I'm sure there's a places that are okay with it. We just didn't bump into those. Like they were just more traditional, the ones we were at. Next time, if we're so blessed. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a crazy thing. Um, Doing things like this, and it's a blessing, and it's this whole thing just kind of popped up. It was like this festival just invited us from hearing the Burn album, which the vinyl just started shipping. So please, if you're interested, buy Burn on vinyl. It's amazing. It looks amazing.
And you and Peter live playing those tracks. Wow.
It was a real treat.
Wow.
Total honor, in more ways than
It's
one.
so good.
Yeah, I hope we can get a recording of those shows. I hope that it's good because I'd love to. We had some improvs. You know, it's rare for me to be able to play with something like
When
that.
you guys played in Harame in Tokyo, Haramame, Hara.
Harame, Harame, I think.
Well, you weren't planning on doing an encore.
True.
And the crowd wouldn't let you go. It was so good. The crowd was like, no, give us more. And you really had to actually improvise for your encore.
Yeah, and Peter came over and sat down at the piano, which we'd never done, and I was like, "This is perfect." And I was like, "I'll play the flute and
Yeah, you did like jazz
flute
flute.
piano, jazz flute. It wasn't jazz flute.
You jazz fluted with your wooden flute.
Jazz hands is what I did.
You went to town with your flute with Peter on the piano.
Yeah, with some beats. It was cool. I might have I saw a video,
I
little
have
phone recording
I
of
have a
that.
phone recording.
We should
It's
put that on
so
socials.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, public service announcement. I was locked out. I have been hacked on Facebook. So whatever's going on over there, I need you to check that.
I looked last night. I think you're
I
fine.
don't have access and anything going on over there. I've not been able to
You
get
might
in.
have noticed everyone's commenting now saying what a good businessman you are. That
Oh,
they
there's
should
bot
trust you.
comments.
Trust you like it's good to make investments with East
Oh, that's
Forest.
true. Are there weird comments like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Can we get rid of them? I can't
Probably.
get. I'm hacked. I'm locked out.
Uh, it's pretty obvious it's a bot.
Nightmare. Hate social media. But anyway, not to digress. I'd like to post maybe one of those videos. That'd be fun
Yeah, but to your point, it will
on Instagram.
not be on Facebook.
Yeah.
You can share those.
But
So
I
great.
recognize too we were there and coming home and all this stuff going on in the world. It's like it's just wild. It's hard to hold all that at once. But I just want to give thanks for our ability to go at all and connect with new people and to bring the music and the medicine and community to so many lovely new communities. It's amazing. It was amazing. It was a trip of a lifetime. So I'm glad I could share it with you.
Yeah, A plus plus. Loved it all the way. I'm still like,
We're still not waking up on time,
no,
but
that was just very unusual for you. You're an early riser, and now we're sleeping till 10.
well, today I set the alarm for 8, which is late, and it went off. And I usually just get up, but I thought just 5 minutes. I'm just gonna just sit here 5 minutes. And then when I got up when I thought it was 10 or 15, it was 2 hours later. I was like,
You
"What happened?"
said the alarm never went off, and I said, no, no, it went off.
No,
You need to
we
turn it
got
back.
to do something to change this. A couple other pieces of housekeeping, if anyone's still listening. I mean, Esalen, I think it's full, but not full. Like, so you should sign up for the wait list if you're interested, because I actually think there might be a few more spots. Uh,
The wait list always gets activated, so if you want to go and you're on the wait list, they'll likely ask you.
and there's a retreat coming up in Costa Rica, February 3rd through
The 10th
10th.
ish,
That'll be on
approximately.
eastforce.org soon. Sign up for the email list. That'll be a psilocybin retreat, first of its kind, public psilocybin retreat at Reunion in Costa Rica, soon to be announced. And if you are feeling the call to that, explore it because it will be intimate. I think that's it for now. Of course, I'll be in Seattle on November 3rd and LA on November 7th. The 7th is with Mariam. The 3rd is the album release date. So looking forward to both of those shows, doing lots of rehearsals right now. And that's it.
That's it. Lots of
Anything
love.
for you?
No, just feel really grateful to you, grateful to Japan and everyone that helped us and hosted us and showed us love.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks to everyone over there who gave us a hand. We look forward to seeing you again.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the new friends, keep walking your walk. Don't take any shit, but if you do,
Do it with grace.